Hello everyone. I made this card this morning and put it onto my Facebook page, and several people have asked a few questions about it. So I thought I wasn't going to do a video, but I thought I would just try and make things a little clearer perhaps. One of the questions was about the brick die. These bricks, they're all Gummiapan dies, but these brick ones, I didn't really look too closely at them at first, I thought. And I used them with an embossing mat. But having looked closely at them, I realised that if you want to use these as a texture on a piece of card, you don't need an embossing mat because they are in fact embossing dies. If you look closely, I don't know if you can see, the cutting line around the edge has got lots of little breaks in it all the way around, and each of these bricks has got one little place where the line doesn't continue and join up, which means that these pieces won't fall out. It means that this whole section won't be cut out of a card, it'll just make a cut into it. If you wanted to have that piece as a cutout, what you would have to do is to put it through your die cutting machine with a regular sandwich in the ordinary way, but then snip the bits in between. But I honestly don't see the point because, you can just use this as part of the background piece that you've got in the way that it was intended. And if you look closely as well, there are little embossed lines on the outside of the cutting line for the edge of the piece of exposed brick. So you don't need an embossing mat. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I did this one to show that it is really important for you to make sure that when you put your dies onto the card you're going to use, that they are in fact straight. These are both, well, that one's over exaggerated, but they're at an angle and it looks dreadful. Here you can see the lines of bricks are horizontal. So that's another thing to think about. The font itself, I used, I think it was maybe 3 layers there. Here I've got 2. But the card I'm using is Silkweave Linen from Centigo.co.uk, who also sell on Amazon and in UK and Amazon.com. So you can get this card in the US. It's 250 GSM. So by itself, on a die that's got lots of pattern, it's not very strong, just 1 layer. So at least 2 is a really good idea. So that's the second thing about the font. The third thing is the colouring. And to do the colour, well, I'll go on to how to get that straight in a moment. But I'll talk about the colouring. And all I used to colour this card were 2 shades of Distress Oxide ink, Lost Shadow and Pumice Stone, plus a little bit of metallic watercolour paint from here. And I used the 2 shades of silver to colour the ewer. Okay, right. To do the front panel, all I did was, this is a Sizzix die, it's a framelit. And I used another Sizzix die. This is the one I always use for my front panels. And I cut the 2 pieces from a piece of card, which is the size of the front of my card. I could then use the piece I cut out to inset as the decorative piece. So let's just, I've got one here that I've already cut. So I will do how to do these on there straight, keeping them level. So what I propose to do, as I don't need an embossing mat, I can do it on my cutting plates. So here are my 2 cutting plates. I'm trying to get them where we can see. So if I do it, let me see which way around. I want to be able to see. This is what I'm going to do. I know it. That's it. If you've got a mat like this or something with lines on that show through your embossing mat, you can line up the bricks with the lines on your mat. It doesn't matter where you put them, but what you can do is align this with that as well, if you like them. Then what we can do, something always falls down, doesn't it, is tape them down, making sure they're straight. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, this piece is face side down. The right side of this card is facing the dies. The dies are facing up, and now I'm going to put the pellet that my dies cut into on the top. And I can either put it through this way, or I can turn it over. It doesn't make a lot of difference, really. I'm just going to put it through my die cutting machine. So with a bit of luck, can you see our bricks are actually horizontal? So all we have to do now is take off the tape and we're in business, says she, hopefully. If some of it sticks on the back, I've just left it, in fact. It doesn't matter, because there's only a tiny, tiny little piece holding each of those bricks in place. Okie doke. There we go. Now, to keep them all together, I would put a piece of double-sided on the back. We'll take off this eventually. Okay, so that's how we get the dies. Because if you're trying to do it this way, you can't see through here. You see, you can't see if it's absolutely horizontal or not. So that is that. Now we just come on to a little bit of colouring, and then I think that's kind of going to be it, because I wanted to do this kind of quickly. Okay, so there's my brick wall. Here is my font, and there is my ewer. Obviously, they always bring water to the font in a jug of some description, but you see the difference, how much different they look when they're straight. Okay, now to colour the font, all I did was this. Bit of lost shadow onto my mat, a bit of pumice stone onto my mat, and a spritz of water. You know, you can see why Cleo spritzed herself in the face. That looks as if it's a nozzle, doesn't it? And you could easily hold it like this, thinking it's going to come out of there, and it hits you instead. I've done it, believe me. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just slosh this around in the mixture. Okay, it's got a bit of colour on. Now, I'm just going to drag. If you look here, there's some, can you see that bit? There's shadow on the one side. So just drag it across. Pure simple, like this. Okay, and just keep going until you think you've got enough. Do you see? The impression is all it kind of needs. And for this one, I did a similar sort of thing. Probably more of the lighter shade. Let's put some more ink down. A bit of water. And you just keep going until you've got enough colour that you like the look of. Put a bit more. Let's have a bit of the darker one. Oh, that was a darker one. We put some of the lighter one. Okie dokie. Let's try a bit of this. Drop of water. And you can dry it in between with your heat gun. Looks like there's some bits of powder on there. Let me just dry this off a moment. What else I did with that one was just to ground the font a little here, just to ground it. I got a brush and a bit of paint, or a bit of ink, should I say, and I just did this. Just to give it a little, a little weight. Don't like those spots, but there we go, get those off. Okay, and you just keep going with the paint until you think you've got enough. What I did with this one was just a little around the edges, and then you can always spray it. And that softens it. You see? Bit of a harsh line there. There we go. I can dry it with my heat gun again. But you just do a little until you get the shade that's deep enough for your taste. And as to the jug, all I did was a little water. Takes a little while to get enough pigment onto the brush. And then just painted it. Simple. My hope was that it was going to look like silver. Often churches have a bit of wealth in their accoutrements. I don't know what you would term them as a collection, things like the communion vessels and all this kind of stuff. There we go. A little bit of shadow with the deeper colour, and we're in business. But to assemble it, I put foam tape on the back of the front panel. This one, I put some adhesive on the back of that, recessed it into the arch shape. For this, I put some foam tape just down the centre to keep that, with a little bit of dimension. And then I put my runner adhesive from my ATG gun down the sides so that would be kind of stuck down either side. So that's kind of it, really. This one is a bit paler than that. I could carry on and do a lot more. This one, I put a tiny bit of foam tape on the back of that too, just so that it would stand out. So there you go. The sentiment was computer generated in the font called Arlington. I don't know. I did have a piece of...
I didn't get that.
Oh, for goodness. He makes me jump. I wish you would...
I don't know how to respond to that.
Oh, for goodness sake. Go back in your teapot. Oh, my Lord. Where was I when I was so rudely interrupted? I kind of think we're nearly there. I was saying this is the font Arlington. And I did it, first of all, printed one, and I thought it was too pale. the colour wasn't quite deep enough, so I just did another one, it's a shade darker, and it worked out well. I can't find the bit now. I've started cutting out other bits from it, but there we go. That's how I did it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and as a lot of people have said, it is ideal for maybe an adult who's getting baptised. So, as ever, bit short and sweet, but thank you so much for watching.